What's up, everybody? So, my name is Mr. Checkpoint. We advocate for victims of systemic injustice all over the country. We are on a mission to make police more transparent and accountable. We have the privilege and honor to have Mr. Arthur Robinson with us.
Hello, how you
Um,
doing?
we're doing well. And if you want to just jump right in and kind of explain who you are and why we're speaking to you and need to know what you have to say.
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Arthur Robinson. I'm a former police officer trainee with the city of Pasadena approximately 20 years ago. And I've been through some things there. And unfortunately, I've heard my name has been brought up after I thought things had been settled and tucked under the rug. But for whatever reason, we're back doing the same thing we were doing 20 years ago.
What were the years you were with Pasadena PD?
I believe I was there around 2004, and it was for a couple of months. I believe it was 6 to 8 months, I believe. And I was only there for training, and the entire time I was there in training, they pretty much put me through hell.
They put you through hell. Can you describe what you, if I'm not mistaken, you were one of or you were the only African American at the time in training, or if you want to speak on any of that?
I did a ride along, and I remember doing a ride along, and I was with this white officer, and we were in the rich part, as they call it, of Pasadena. And I remember he had waved to somebody watering their grass, and they waved at him. And that's okay, they're friendly out here. So we kept driving down the street, and I remember there was a lady standing on her grass, watering her grass, and I waved at her. And next thing I know, she flicked me off. And so I said to him, I said, man, is this how they do out here? He said, oh, you gonna get that a lot out here. And I just thought he meant as a police, but he meant more to what he was saying without saying much. So I graduate the academy and go to Pasadena. And when I get there, I remember my mother and my cousin went with me to get sworn in. And the chief and the two officers that hired me, they were making a real big deal about me being there. And it was uncomfortable, but I went along with it. It was just like something was more to this. And they ended up telling me that day, the issue was I was the first Black officer they hired in like 3 or 4 years. And once again, I heard it, but I let it go. And then from there, I remember the chief at the time, he pretty much swore me in. And then after he swore me in, instead of saying, do your thing, good luck, he pretty much said, don't make me regret this. I ignored that also, right? So not knowing much, just wanted to go to work. And so they put me with my first training officer. He was actually pretty good. And he had been through a shooting, so he was just still traumatized from that. And he was actually trying to show me things. I had noticed they had pulled me away from him fairly quick and for no reason, and just started throwing me around with other training officers. The 6 or 8 months I was there, I think I had 10 to 12 training officers, which is unusual. And being that I had former law enforcement experience, I didn't need the knowledge fresh out the academy. So I was covered. I was squared away, as they would say. So being that every week I would come to work, I'd be either every couple of days or a week, I'll be with somebody new. So I could never get used to anything or how something was, and nobody was showing me the proper way. So I was just doing the best I could. And so I went on from training officer to training officer, and they would make comments. They would send me the calls, and it'd be calls not even in the area that we were supposed to be covering, but they'll come get me, and they'll set the scene, and then they just say, do something. And it's just like I have little to no information. And most of the time it was dangerous to where my life was in danger and the people we were dealing with was in danger. So in the whole department, I would say it was probably about 5 or 6 African American older officers there, but they all said privately to me that I'm not going to talk to you in person, in public, because I don't want them to know we talk. And you pretty much got to figure it out on your own. And that's how it pretty much was the entire time. I wasn't, getting the knowledge, the guidance from anybody. It was just pretty much they were just taking me as a token, as they would say. So they would call me token. the N word or other things like that. And so I just dealt with it because my thing was to get off trainer so they couldn't touch me and then handle it after that. But as I kept going, the calls got more dangerous and what they were doing got more blatant to where I knew this was being like a setup type of thing. And so I would, it was an incident to where I was with the training officer, and I believe it was the training officer who resurfaced my name. Um, he had called his buddies on the phone, set up a scene with some gangsters in the worst part of Pasadena. And then after they set the scene, they called me over. And I remember it was like probably 15, 20 guys. And when we got there, the training officer was driving, I was in the passenger seat. And when we got there, it was Pasadena's gang unit. So like 5 or 6 guys. And so when I got there, I was like, why am I needed when this is the gang unit, special unit, and they have all this covered? And they had the guys just lined down the sidewalk in the line. And they were just like, do something. So based on my training experience prior with another department, I started to, get command presence, pretty much show them that I knew what I was doing. And I also ended up telling them, I don't know if these guys going, but I know this is a setup. And if you guys try something, we all going down. Because as I tried to call the radio, they would also do things like key the mic so my traffic wouldn't go out. And so that's why I had to be more assertive with the gentlemen, because they were all black and they knew, I guess they didn't know I was black before I got there, but when I got there, their eyes got big. So it just uncomfortable from the start. And so that's why I told them. And I remember 2 or 3 of the guys, as I was searching them, said, don't worry, we got you. And so once the other police officers heard that, they pretty much said, okay, hurry this up, get this done. So just like this was an important thing, but then it became unimportant when these people didn't cooperate. So it's like, oh, okay. So later on, they wouldn't let me drive because it stages in training to where when you first get there, it's more of taking notes and see how things are. Then in your second month, it's just like, okay, understand what you're doing. Then in your third month, you're preparing to start being by yourself for the 4th, 5th, 6th month. And so they wouldn't accelerate me, because if they accelerated, that meant that I was doing what I was doing, in which I was. And so they purposely wouldn't let me drive, because if they said I wasn't driving, then I was behind the phases, even though I wasn't. So with the training officer who mentioned my name, he was known as the henchman of the department, and he got things done that nobody else could, meaning that he would go above and beyond to make sure things happen how he wanted to or how he was told things happen. So I put that together, and I said, okay, these people are coming after me. And so from there, it was another shift to where I was driving graveyard with this gentleman, and we had saw a rather large guy standing on the sidewalk. He reminded me of Debo from Friday. And as we were approaching him, he was driving on the passenger seat. He said, "You see this guy right here?" I said, "Yeah, I see him." He was like, "What you got?" I said, "Well, he's drinking in the public intoxication." And he was like, "Okay, well, show me what you gonna do." So I get out, approach the guy. The guy cussed me out. He said, "It doesn't have to be this way. Just trying to do this." And the guy cussed me out. So I ended up having to do well, prior to doing what I did, I looked at the training officer to see where he was, and he was about 10, 15 yards away from me with his arms crossed like this. So just like, these people are messing with me, setting up calls, saying that I'm this and that, or I'm failing to do this. But this guy is 10, 15 yards away from me, supposed to be backing me up. And at the time, I wasn't the size that I am. And this guy was 2 or 3 times my size, but yet my backup is 10 to 15 yards away, smiling and laughing, thinking it was gonna go bad. So being that I learned the wrist lock to arm lock in the academy, and it's a low profile cuffing procedure that we were taught in the academy. It's pretty much you leverage the arm, and before somebody knows what's going on, they're cuffed up. And so that's what I ended up doing. And the gentleman who I cuffed was surprised because I guess he thought it would be more difficult. And so as I put one cuff on him, that's when the training officer came by, and he started trying to help because he needed to be double cuffed because he was so large. And so I pretty much remained in control of the situation, cuffed him up, put him in the car. And being that I was the passenger, I was the booker. So that meant I was in charge of paperwork, and he just drove to the station. And so as I'm filling out the paperwork as we're driving to the station, I noticed him and the gentleman were looking at each other. So as I'm riding, I'm looking up, and I'm looking at the training officer, I'm looking at the guy in the back seat, and the next thing I know, the training officer looked in his rear view and said, "Hey, when we get to the station, I got something for you." And the guy in the back seat was like, "What you got?" He was like, "Well, I'll pay you if you find my partner when we get to the station." So like I heard it, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" I was in disbelief. And the guy in the back seat was just like, "I ain't gonna get no charges." He said, "No, nobody's gonna know." So I'm still in disbelief. So at this time, I stopped, writing the paper because now I know this guy driving who was wearing the same uniform as me and this guy we just picked up are plotting on me. So we get to the station, I get out. So now this guy's whole demeanor has changed to where he's more aggressive because the guy arrested was arresting, and he started upping me down, like sizing me up. I said, okay, he's gonna try it. The way Pasadena works, the station was at the time, I don't know how it is now. You pull in the station, you go downstairs, you take the elevator downstairs, you leave all your stuff outside, and take the elevator down, put them in the booking room. Booking room is the size of a closet. And at that time, the officer was sitting in the room. The person you brought in would sit closer to the door, and it was a camera that points into the room that could see everything. Prior to getting in, I noticed that the camera, all the days I was there, the camera was always functioning and working and properly set. But I noticed that day, the screen had been removed and the camera had been taken down. So I said, okay, this is where it's gonna happen. And so I sit the guy down, cuff him to the bench, start his computer stuff for booking. And as I do that, I noticed that the training officer, stayed outside in the hallway. So as he walked towards the door as I'm writing, and I'm on the computer, he's come with his right hand in his pocket. He was like, "You ready?" And the guy was like, "Ready for what?" And so the training officer, reached in his pocket and just threw 20, it was like 40, $60 on the ground. And the guy was just like, "Take me out these cuffs." So I'm still on the computer looking at these two. I'm on in front of the computer, but I'm just looking at these two, seeing what's going on. Because I had probably about 5 feet to make to defend myself. So the guy was like, "Take the cuffs off." So the guy came in, removed the cuffs, and the guy stood up. So I stood up, and we squared off in the center of the room, like two boxers. So we probably did that for like 2 minutes, but it felt like 30 minutes. And as we squaring up, the gentleman, he saw that I was willing to fight him. So he was like, "Fuck that. I don't want to fight him." He did a little karate shit on me outside, but you don't want trying to do this fighting us. I won't fight you. So he reached in his pocket, threw a couple more dollars out. And the guy was like, "Nah, fuck that. If it ain't fighting you, I ain't fighting." So the guy sat back on the bench. I recuffed him and finished the booking process. And after that, walked into the jail. And after walking to jail, transferred custody to the jail, me and the training officer start to go outside. And so we have words. I say, "Hey man, what you did wasn't necessary. You almost got me in this situation." "Yeah, but it was funny though." "Nah, it ain't funny." I said, "I'm done with this." And it's just I'm done with y'all because y'all keep trying to come after me, taking me out. And the whole thing is, I learned later, it's just because I'm Black from South Central. And so I think that was my kickoff day. So during that time, I went home with a resignation, put in why I was resigning. A day later, I got a call from IA, and they said, "We know what happened. You're telling the truth, and the chief want to talk to you." I said, well, I don't feel safe coming back. You guys been treating me bad the whole time I was there. And I just don't feel comfortable because you guys have jeopardized my life on numerous occasions. Yeah, but the chief wants to talk to you. And so being at that time, if you didn't do things the right way, and being that you're a minority, uh, you can get blackballed from the department, right or wrong. You get blackballed from any department. So I decided to meet with the chief because I didn't think it was at the chief level. So chief called me into his office, and it was just me and him in there. And he was sitting at his desk when I first came in. And he had me sit on the opposite side. Then as I sat down, he walked around his desk and sat in front of me. And so we're in two chairs looking at each other. He's like, before you start, I want you to know, I know what happened. And I told him to do it. It came from me. I put him with you because he's my henchman and he gets things done. And we only hired you because you're black and we needed a black face like yours around here. We needed you for your smile. And I remember telling him, sir, no disrespect. You know, I grew up in South Central. I'm still in South Central. I'm gonna be black till I die. And I'm not using this. I didn't become a police officer just because I'm black. I came a police officer to help people. And if you brought me here just because of my color, I don't need to be here. That's why I submitted my resignation on top of you guys trying to kill me repeatedly. He was like, yeah, that may be true, but if you say anything, we'll kill you. I said, sir, you guys already tried to do this. Do this. I live in South Central. I don't need to come away to Pasadena and get my life in danger. He said, well, yeah, that may be true, but if you say something, you'll regret it. And you got a green light. We'll have a green light against you and you'll be sorry. I said, well, I'll take my chances. I worked here, so I'll continue to take my chances because you guys already tried to get me, so you guys aren't gonna stop. So from there, he said, do what you gotta do. We have money and we'll do what we have to do to cover it. So as I was going home, I just pulled off the freeway in LA. I got a call from a reporter, unknown to me, and he was pretty much saying, heard what happened, we want to put you in LA Times. I said, well, how did you find out? Oh, we have our sources. And I said, well, I'm not comfortable putting my picture in the newspaper because if I do that, I'll never be able to work again. And he's like, I understand that. You change your mind, let us know. Then later, I got a call from an activist from the NAACP Pasadena chapter. And I believe prior to that, I'm sorry, it was an activist who was representing the chapter. He wasn't the actual president, but he was representing the NAACP. He said that he had an attorney because the things been going on in Pasadena. They heard what happened and they wanted to help me out. So he represented me. He had me introduced to an attorney that he knew. That was pretty much everybody was still working for the police department. And they were trying to seem like they were helping me, but this was people from the chief who said, go reach out to this black guy because y'all black and get him to come back. And so, excuse my puppy. So as this is happening, I'm thinking, I'm not trusting anybody, but at the same time, some of the stuff they were saying was just, I'm sorry, they may be actually trying to help. And so from there, I met with the attorney. He was, oh yeah, I'm for the cause. I'm here to help. And just let me handle it. So my thing was still having to do it the right way because I know if I do it wrong, get blackballed, even though I'm the victim here. I went along with it, and he was like, "Well, meet with the Pasadena president chapter because he has real weight in the city, and he could get things done." I said, "So okay." Didn't have anything to lose. Met with the Pasadena NAACP president at the time, and he pretty much said, "What they did to you was wrong, but I need you to go back." I said, "Well, if they did wrong to me, and it's been proven and admitted that they did what they did, why would I go back?" He was like, well, "Look, you're making this difficult. You're blocking my blessing. I was promised a position in the Citizen Review Board if I got you to come back." I said, "Well, thank you for telling me that, but I'm not helping you out because you just worried about the position. You're not worried about me or anybody else." And so he was like, he got real angry and was just like, "You're blocking my blessing. The chief said, if I get you to come back, I'll have this title. I don't have nothing." thanks, see you later. So I just walked out. And so from there, for approximately a year and a half, from California to Baltimore, I was blackballed by the city of Pasadena from working because I would pass tests, do interviews, and everybody would like and want to hire me. But they all told me they couldn't go against the brotherhood. And uh, they said, we did our investigation, we talked to Pasadena, and they admitted what happened. And they said, you're telling the truth. It just, we can't go against the brotherhood. And that happened for like a year. And then I ended up having to do security. And I think I was doing security at a Hollywood Park casino. And I got a call from this department I was lucky enough to retire from. And I did about 10, 12 years with them, no problems at all, which is a larger department with
Repeat the department.
it's Los Angeles County Sheriff Department. I retired as a deputy approximately 8 or 10 years ago. And I was there. I did all the levels of assignments they have. I passed training with no issues. I passed everything with no issues. I did special assignments also. And everybody knows the Sheriff Department is different from any smaller city with their problems, issues, but they still have more dangerous cities. And being that I was working more dangerous cities with no issues, that just shows that with the proper training and experience in front of you, things could happen. And despite what people at Pasadena say, it's not the same. It doesn't match. And so that's what I say. The way I'm being slandered now for some 20 years ago, when it's been proven that it happened, and also at that time, and even this time, he was, I believe, a 9-year officer or a 9-year training officer, wherever he was, and I was only with him, as he says, 3 shifts. So if anybody makes an allegation or is a sworn regular officer, that person already has protection. So if a temporary employee who could be fired at any time makes an allegation, and this wasn't even a sexual allegation, this was more of a officer safety thing and racial, and he was relieved of duty for approximately a year and only allowed to come back because he went through the process, which I wasn't invited to, didn't know anything about, and wouldn't. I probably went anyway because these are the same people who were trying to kill me for all these months. So he's clouding that he was cleared in court when he wasn't. He was cleared in a hearing because their thing was, we already lost this trainee, so we're not gonna get a future with him. This guy's been here 9 or 10 years. So instead of losing money, the guy who quit because his life was in safety is not coming back. We could bring him back. And that's pretty much all it was.
Yeah, no, and let's go over some specifics. So this incident, what year did you start? Were you in the academy? What year was it?
I was in the academy around 2003. And then
2003.
yeah, it was the end of 2003.
And then this
I believe.
incident in particular with the henchman trying to set up a fight. What year was that?
2004, I believe.
2004. Okay. And just also for clarity, the names of these people. So the henchman or the gentleman. And let's watch this video here if we can, because you referenced being slandered, right?
Right.
So if I'm not mistaken, you're referring to this particular video. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you can see it on the screen.
Yes.
Okay.
And see,
I'm going to go ahead.
oh no, I just wanted to say, if it wasn't for this video that someone sent to me, I wouldn't have known anything about this. And it's just like, I'm not part of any, I wasn't part of anything. I didn't know about this. Somebody sent this to me. And I was surprised because it was like, what did I do? I didn't say anything. I haven't done anything.
Right.
But yet, 20 years later, this is here. And I really thank you and AFTP for doing what you do, because if it wasn't for people like you, people like me wouldn't have a voice.
Right. Right. I appreciate that. Okay, this video is from about a week ago. I don't have the exact date, but it was the beginning of, it was sometime in June. And it was a press conference for Tyson Crutchfield, who's also a Pasadena deputy. She was seen on a video trying to de-escalate another officer named Palacios, and she was then put on an administrative leave. And that same department has officers drinking on duty, etc., and those officers aren't being put on administrative leave or investigated. She has hired attorneys. She is suing the Pasadena Police Department, and since several other officers have joined her, if I'm not mistaken, saying that we've also been retaliated against. We've also faced discrimination, harassment, racial, etc. During the press conference, I'm going to play this video, but this gentleman starts yelling things out. And I think if we're clear, you're the person that he's referring to, correct?
Correct.
And his name is Dave. I'm not Lalanis, I believe would be the last. Lanis.
Yes.
Okay, Dave Lanis. Okay, let's watch this video here.
And it's unfortunate that he wants to shout out, but it is a free community.
And that's Dave Lanis, right? With that, I had the arrow on. That's the henchman, correct?
Correct.
That set up the fight between you and the gentleman you arrested, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And everybody has the right to their opinions, including you, sir.
Pardon me?
I said everyone has the right to their opinion, including
Sir,
you,
the press
sir.
conference here. I can't hear you.
So, claims, you can see that this is a long-standing problem, that there have been allegations.
What we can see is an opportunistic lawyer, sir. Speak the whole case about Arthur Robinson.
Are there any
Speak
veteranos in the
case.
crowd? Veteranos or good old boys, maybe?
Never met any of them.
Maybe, okay.
Maybe I could just ask a question.
Yeah.
Less of the distraction.
Okay, sir.
And we support you standing by the officers who filed the lawsuit, but we support the truth. And I speak directly to Arthur Robinson, who resigned in lieu of termination.
So there he's saying, tell the truth about Arthur Robinson. And by the way, he interrupted before. I only started filming because he was interrupting. And so the first interruptions I didn't even catch on camera. But of course, he continued to do so. And he's saying, tell the truth about Arthur Robinson, right? And
yeah.
that's you. Let's keep watching. And then the gentleman tried to, kind of do his own press conference. There's another. So I guess someone sent that to you. Tell me what you felt, what you thought, and.
I was confused and baffled because it was just like 20 years ago after my incident, I tried to prevent this from happening from anybody. As we know, from then until now, problems with the police are still ongoing, and they probably will continue to happen because nobody's doing anything to change it in the system. And people like you and AFTP are doing a great job of keeping people accountable for what they do. And it's just like, when I saw this, I was confused because it's like, I wasn't even involved. I support what Ms. Crutchfield is doing and other officers, and because I know what it feels like. But at the same time, I feel bad because they went through it. And if people were around like you and AFTP, maybe they back then, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And I feel disappointed to see that a person who was involved in the incident and caused the incident and had no contact with me for 20 or so years is still as angry as he is, and still bringing up my name, trying to rewrite history. And the thing is it's all been proven and accepted, and like departments I worked for, sheriff-related or other departments have all come to the same founding. Even his own department came to the same founding, that he did what he did. And for him to be trying to rewrite history, it's just insane. And I just don't understand, why would he do such a thing 20 years later?
It was totally uncalled for. And at this point, being there, I wasn't even clear what he was talking about, but now it seems very slanderous,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned in that video, veteranos and good old boys. Are you familiar with those?
I've heard of them. I didn't deal with them directly. I was just getting the more hatred from the white and Hispanic officers there because they just felt that I shouldn't be there because I was a young black guy from South Central. And even I had some of the white officers say that I took their son or daughter's job by me being there. And that's why they would call me token or the N-word.
And when you say they call you the N-word, can you
Mhm.
like speak on that a little more specifically?
Yeah, so when they were in their groups, as you know, bullies do things in groups. And like my thing was being that they saw that I wasn't intimidated and I showed up for work, even though I was going through what I was going through every day, they couldn't get to me. They felt comfortable speaking in large numbers. So being that I wasn't getting treated like the other trainees at the time, like other trainees was getting pampered, people were helping them, but me, I had to find places to write. I had to make shift places to write, and then if I wrote something, it was attacked. And other officers who were actually worse than I was were getting high-fived and saluted. And like for me, they wouldn't let me attend certain briefings, shift briefings in the start, which you're supposed to, because I was black. I had to wait in the hallway while everybody else went inside. And other trainees were going inside, but then it came down to me, I couldn't go, but they would say, oh, it's full. How's the briefing room full? And especially for a trainee who's going to do all the work, they just didn't want me in there. And that's when they would say, oh, the token's here. Oh, the token can handle that. Oh, the token this. Oh, the token's only here because of what happened a couple years before I got hired. And the thing with that is, I guess they had some problems with some black Muslims that I found out later, ended up suing them. It was a big thing. And I guess one of the people or a couple of people wrote a book about what happened there. I think it's called The Concrete Rose. And it turned out that I was the first black that they hired in 7 years. And they lied to me. The two officers who hired me lied to me and said 3 or 4 when it was actually 7. And part of me being there was to shut the people up about having a black officer on the street. And that's where the token and the N-word. And even when I would go to calls, I had people I was taking reports for call me the N-word. I had people who in the richer end of Pasadena, I would go to 911 calls and go to the front door to make contact with the person. And I would hear them calling the police on me, even though I was in full uniform, and say, there's a black guy trying to break in my door. And it's just like, one time that happened, it happened a few times. I remember one time it happened, I remember a dispatcher lady, the dispatch people were always nice to me because they knew the treatment I was getting. And they were always nice to me and they would send me messages, keep going, keep doing your thing. And when one of the ladies who I was trying to make contact with, who called the police on me, even though I was in full uniform, did that, the dispatcher, she pretty much talked to me regular on the radio. She said, Robinson, are you at the front door? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, I thought so. And she just started crying because she felt bad because of what I was going through. And then after everything was over, she sent me a message and she would just say, I'm sorry you got to deal with all this. And it was just crazy because I'm here to make a difference and show that there are or could be some good officers, but yet I'm being attacked because of where I come from, what I look like, and because I'm not one of the members of the groups. So it just it was a gang mentality, probably still is, and it amazes me that the FBI or DOJ hasn't looked into that department. But money keeps things from happening, and Pasadena has a lot of money from things like the Rose Parade. So it's unfortunate.
It's interesting you say that. I think maybe that's something the public can pay attention to, is the Rose Parade, and how do we who are the sponsors, right? And if this is the
Right.
department of that city, shouldn't they demand the same change the people are?
Right.
Sometimes money talks, right? Have you seen this clip, or do you even know what this is?
I've seen very little of it. I heard about it.
Okay. Would you want to watch it?
Sure.
Okay. So just to be clear, this is Dave Lawness, again, Pasadena officer. I believe he's part of the police association, or is that right?
Yeah, I heard he's some type of rep. Yeah.
Some, but he's not, from what I understand, the spokesperson. In fact, I think he'll introduce himself. So let's play this. This, if I'm not mistaken, okay, it says June 7th. And this was, I believe, just after the press conference that Tyson Crutchfield and others had. So,
as a shop steward for the Pasadena Police Officers Association, I am not a spokesman for the police department nor for the city, but I do have the authority and the First Amendment right to speak on behalf of the members of the police department that are PPOA members, officers, corporals, and sergeants. We want all of the members here to know, and the general public, that we filed a cease and desist letter against former Chair and Commissioner Raul Ibanez in regards to his defamatory words against our police officers, calling them murderers and calling one officer in particular a murderer. That was served to the city. That was served. I hope that the attorney representing this has received it. I know I sent it to Amanda Fowler. Was it received? Thank you very much. And the reason we did so is because of some positions on the commission with a narrative, a particular narrative that's quite obvious. Hate the police. Everything we can find bad about the police, we're going to take advantage of and jump on it. We are not the enemy. We are not the bad guys. We're trying to work together to move forward in the city. We're trying to work together to find common ground and move forward together. Can't be done if you have a narrative and all it is bag on the police, hammer on the police. All we want to do is find something wrong with the police so we can magnify that. In regards to the lawsuits, I spoke, again as a shop steward, on one allegation only, the allegation that concerned me from 20 years ago that was fully adjudicated in a forum with sworn testimony where the trainee who made the allegation against me wouldn't testify. Because once you become sworn, it's sworn testimony, then it becomes, I get to ask the questions. We get to test the veracity of your statements. We get to see how good your recollection is. We get to figure out whether or not you're actually lying. And in his case, he's an absolute liar. He resigned in lieu of being terminated because he failed all 6 phases of his training regimen. They sent him to me for his 7th month of training, trying to salvage the individual. I had him for 3 shifts. He wrote 1 report that sounded like it came from Mars. Couldn't decipher what this kid was trying to say or do. He just couldn't come to terms that he was not of the quality of the Pasadena Police Department. What we need are officers that work their butts off, will make mistakes, aren't perfect, but as me, as a resident of this city, who loves this community, who's worn the badge for 31 years proudly, and I will continue to do so, and the members of the PPOA will also. So if we could find a way with this commission to come together and find some common ground, I think you'll advance more of your own mission. But this hammer on the police, day after day,
Mr. Yanis, your time is up. If you could please finish.
It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. You don't trust us? How do you expect our cops to trust you?
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
It's as if they will only. It's as if we owe the officer something for them to what, protect and serve as we would expect. It's like, wow,
right.
That's a scary line. I mean, in his remarks to you are, of course, he's definitely choppy with his words, it seems, when he's trying to explain it. He
right.
seems to want to kind of be careful.
Right.
What do you have to say about what he's telling this board here?
Well, it feels weird because that same board he's standing in front of is the same board that that gentleman was trying to be a part from the NAACP, and seeing that they're around 20 years from now, and he's asking that board that he knows was created because all the ongoings that was happening towards Black people in Pasadena, and he's speaking of a former Black officer that he mistreated, and it's offensive because he's not just attacking me, he's attacking, I take it as he's attacking all Black people, because he's saying that we're not educated enough or wise enough And anything I've done or anywhere I've gone, law enforcement wise, security wise, I've never had issues with my report writing or officer safety. And he's trying to rewrite history without any type of proof or backing from it. And it's upsetting, but at the same time, it's questionable because it's just like, why after 20 years, he's still as angry as he is. And he's even mentioned my name when he was involved in something so serious when he shouldn't even be speaking about what happened with that. And he's telling a lot of my personal information. And it's just like, why would the department or himself okay that? And especially when it's been closed or done with for so long. And this is what people like Ms. Crutchfield and the rest of the officers are saying. They're bullies. They use bullying tactics, and they try to thrive off intimidation. And like my thing is, as he mentioned me as a kid, I don't know why he would mention me as a kid now from something that happened back then when I wasn't a kid then. So that's how his perception is towards me, and he tells on himself.
Right.
So if anybody really wants to know the truth, they can listen to you, and they could do their own investigation because the proof is the truth is the truth, and I stand on that.
Right. No, and your experience from that long ago, and as you said, you then went to the Los Angeles Sheriff's, the biggest department in the country. You retired on good terms, right?
I retired with full credentials, which a lot of people don't. And my thing, and the only reason I'm not still working with the sheriff department is because I medically retired due to a car accident.
Okay, got it. And then today we're still having issues. I know that Tyson, after trying to de-escalate and then being on this investigation, and then I think going back to the force, I believe she's had some situations where she gets called to, as you said, a dangerous call, and then there's no backup, or it takes someone forever to get there, and different things. Dave Lanis in this video, he's saying that he went on 3 calls with you.
Three shifts.
Three shifts.
Yeah. So remember, as I spoke earlier, one of the shifts was he did that. I believe that was him who did that with the gang unit, who set up the scene with the 10, 15 guys down the street, down the sidewalk. And then I think the next day it was the guy with the drunk who I arrested, and he's taking credit for that. And just like he stood 10 or 15 yards away from me with his arms crossed, smiling and laughing, thinking I was gonna get hurt or struggle, and then he's taking credit for it. And it's just it's insane. And I even reported the force that I did with the arm lock, and there's no mention of it. So just it's odd. And even after that, when I spoke to IA, it wasn't formal. It was over the phone, and it was just, Chief want to talk to you. It's just like, you tell them you know what happened, you prove it happened. So we're not doing this officially, and it was never official. And the court hearing he talks about, I wasn't invited, or even if I was, it was a year or so after I separated. And their thing was, they begged me to come back. They said they'd do anything they had to have me come back. And then if I came back, they would protect me and assure that I got off the training. And they would put me with the first training officer, who was actually good, because they know he's a good training officer. And I told them, I can't trust that, because you guys came to me, and I allowed that to happen. And then when I was there, I was called token, N-word, mistreated, and all this stuff by my own. But yet you want me to come back. It's like, no sane person would do that. And as I said that, like I was in the Sentinel paper, they had my article, and then next to my article, they have an incident from Pasadena that occurred of a male who had got shot in the worst part of Pasadena with a cell phone, but they said he had a gun. And the thing was, I would have been there. And I take it as me and that person who lost his life would have been victims of Pasadena PD. And that's what I say is, I stayed there too long, unfortunately. And my thing was, I couldn't give up, because everything I've been through, and I knew the next people behind me would have it worse. And I was trying to prevent that. And that's why I spoke up. Nobody would listen. I would speak to attorneys, And they would say, yeah, you got a case, your officer bill of rights were violated, but you didn't die. You worth more money dead than you are alive. And it's just unfortunate because I didn't have anybody back then that would to truly help me, because I thought the people who came to me as the activists were trying to do something, but they were just toys of the chief. And so that's when the sheriff department stepped in and they said, we know what happened. It's not going to happen here. And it didn't. And I was able to fulfill a dream. I helped a lot of people in law enforcement. And that's why I say my whole purpose was coming from South Central in the 80s, 90s. I know what it's like to be mistreated. I know what it's like to see police do bad things. And that's that's the main reason I became a police, because us as Black people, all we say is F the police, screw the police, but we just talk. And to me, I took it as, instead of just being a voice, I'm gonna be part of the solution. And even with the sheriff department, when I was working, out of 18,000 deputies, there was only approximately 300 black deputies out of 18,000. And it's just, it's unfortunate because we have the mentality as, I'd rather go play baseball, football, entertain than to protect or serve people, from the same communities. And I've been trying to help get people to get out that mindset ever since then, but it's difficult. And, the thing is, you just got to keep fighting.
Damn, I got a lot of respect and for your courage and bravery, because it's tough and you had a real ambition to make change and you wanted to see that out, and you've obviously had a battle aiming to do so, right?
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I see it and I hear it in your voice. Like I totally believe that. I guess what would you want to say to officers around the country who might be at a department that and they're experiencing something that you had, or maybe that Tyson is, or what would you say to them in this day and age right now?
Well, right now, I would say, like, seeing Officer Tyson's video, I see strength and courage. And that's what I say to other officers: have that strength and courage to remember why they became a police officer, and the people that they help rely on them, because they're the only government that's accessible by the people. Because you can call a congressman, you can call the president, you're not good at response. But when you call the police, they're supposed to come, and they're supposed to represent the branches of the government. And the people who wear the badge, that's the real reason. It's not for the money. It's not for all the perks, as they say. It's because you enjoy helping people and you want to make a change. And never forget why you put that uniform on every day. And just keep the fight, because it's more good than it is bad. But unfortunately, the bad, as anything, make it worse for the good.
Right. Well, and just even in this dynamic of Pasadena, right? It seems like, right, without going over who's good and who's bad, it just the reality seems to be that the infrastructure is tainted, right?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
When you're talking to a chief, that was what I wanted to ask you. The chief that told you those things, you were in the room with the chief sitting across from each other at the table. What was that chief's name, and do you know what year that was?
It was Chief Malikian. And come
The
to
full
find
name?
out,
The full name of
I
him?
don't know, I forgot his first name, but he
Okay.
was the chief. He was the chief for a long time there, and it was 2004. And the people after him were his understudies. The 2 or 3 chiefs they had since him were his understudies. And I come to find out later from doing some research, a lot of the reasons I was getting blackballed by a lot of departments in California was because he was a member of some board that had influence. So even though it wasn't Pasadena related, he was still blackballing.
Okay. Man, well, I think given what this Dave Lanis is saying about you, I think you definitely have potential recourse or something to be done with that. and of course, your experience in the past, I would hope isn't too late, but again, I don't know.
Right.
Whatever we can do to keep, sharing what's going on, exposing this, providing transparency, and really ultimately accountability for this officer who would, like Lannis, who would have put your life in jeopardy in these scenarios, right? In the scenario with the fight. I think it's so needed for people to hear this. And is there anything else you want to share or let known?
No, I'd just like to say thank you once again for doing what you do and people at AFTP. And I ask that you continue to keep up with the fight and to stay safe. And I just commend you and thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll leave it on a note of AFTP. It stands for Always for the People. Like I said, we advocate for victims of systemic injustice. I didn't think when starting this nonprofit and putting it together, although I will say that the nonprofit was founded by myself, a former LAPD officer of 10 plus years named Hadia Kennedy, and a criminal defense attorney named Nicholas Rosenberg. We were the three who created this AFTP foundation. And with that said, I wouldn't have believed then that the victim of systemic injustice was going to be officers, but here we are, right? And a lot of people say, where are the good cops? Well, I like to call Tyson Crutchfield a good officer and make her an example of what I would expect, and I think all the people would expect officers to do when they see another officer using excessive force. So I'm honored to stand behind y'all, and I appreciate your time, and we will keep sharing. And I know if you have more to say or you have an update in what you're going through, that you have a place to share that with. So I thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.